a brilliant strategy. That's great. I think all of us would like to have a brilliant strategy. But now the question is, what exactly is a brilliant strategy? And is the brilliant strategy the same for all of us traders? I don't think that's the case. For everyone, the brilliant strategy is just a little bit different. And it doesn't even have to be just a little bit, you know. Some people would want a brilliant strategy in the sense that they don't actually do anything. They just set something up, create a robot that takes over that brilliant strategy, let it run on the charts, and then go play golf or head to the beach while the system generates money for them. I haven't come across such a system, or rather such a robot that would be capable of this. I don't know of one. It's possible that something like that exists. I don't know it. What I do know is discretionary trading, where I have to use my head a little bit. And it's not like I have to be some kind of genius. I just see things on the chart that repeat themselves, and I can't imagine how I would convey that to an automated system. Maybe it's possible, but I don't know of any. It's possible that it exists and the person is just keeping it to themselves. Look, it's possible. And now, from what I've encountered in my career, people have different strategies, you know, especially at the beginning, they need to understand the strategy at least a little bit. That means it has to make sense to the person what they're actually looking for on the chart. I've seen a lot of strategies. Let me start with the one we've already talked about that doesn't work, which is the moving average crossover. At first glance, it seems to make sense to me. When someone shows it to me, presents it, I can see that it's nice, you know. Here, something crosses over and I enter in that direction, the moving averages. Well, there are different values for those, some faster, some slower. And as soon as the faster one crosses the slower one, you enter in that direction. And on those long trend moves, it really looks like you can profit from it very, very nicely. Then if there's some kind of correction, we just say, well, that's only a small loss. And then in between, there's another trend again. It catches some momentum and it just takes off in some direction again. That more than covers those losses for me, and I'm just in profit, you know. But that's not reality. That's just not how it is. That's how it is, even though it looks simple. And my own systems or trading setups are really simple. From my own experience, I know that this just doesn't work. But at first glance, it looks simple. And you could say that for someone, it might seem like a great strategy. It's just that no one manages to bring it to the point where it becomes a profitable trade. You can make some money on it for a few days, but in the bigger picture, meaning over a quarter, a year, or something like that, the results just aren't good, or at least I don't have good results with this strategy. So for me, a long time ago, the win was those third bounces where I would just draw a trend line and at the end I'd have a signal. And if the signal was strong, I'd just go for it. And only over a significant period of time did I truly come to realize that it's not simply just about that seemingly easy strategy, that this particular approach is indeed my ultimate holy grail. But it's more than just that. It's also about money management, which is extremely important and which actually makes me a bit wary of those third bounces. But you can adjust the money management there, you know. It's not that you can't, but it doesn't really give me much room, you know, those swings and so on. I try to go with the trend, which means I have the wind at my back. That's the advantage. Those are the positive points. But again, the practice with the 2-to-1, that's just a bit. For the third bounces, 1-to-1 is kind of the ideal money management. But for me, that money management doesn't work out when it comes to long-term, consistently profitable trading, because you have to take a lot of other factors into account. Today, I've moved on from where I was when I used to trade those third bounces. And now I might be able to read the market better because I've been doing this for several more years. It's more second nature to me now. I can predict the markets better. So I believe that today I would do significantly better with those third bounces than I did back then. And that's the first thing. The second thing is psychology, right? I've come a bit further there too. That means I no longer make those unnecessary trades that used to drag down my strategy. In fact, I had to make up for these emotional trades with my strategy. So that's also something, but it's just part of the strategy. No, because I chose a strategy for myself that makes sense to me. And it's actually my holy grail. The top strategy, the best strategy for me is breakouts, because I understand them. I know why it happens. It makes sense to me. That's my perspective. That's the kind of person I am. I just like certain things, and you have to realize that we're all just people, we're individuals, and we each have our own way of thinking. And that way of thinking brings each of us a different kind of, pleasure and these sorts of things. That also means different ways of reading, different ways of receiving information, different ways of processing that information. So my breakthroughs might not make sense to someone else at all, or rather they might make sense to them, but it's just not the same. So they look for more exactness in it. That means more like, no, I need to have clear, exact rules. And I don't want fairy tales, just clear rules, facts. And when I see those facts on the chart, then I'm able to trade it. That's very difficult, and really a topic where, in my opinion, you will rarely, if ever, find that kind of absolute exactness here or anywhere else for that matter. Yeah, there are very few strategies indeed where you have that absolutely clear-cut approach, where you just put a precise ruler to it, and it absolutely has to be exactly like that in that very specific manner. And you also truly need to have a genuine feel for it. You really need to have the absolutely right person for it, which is precisely and exactly what I'm talking about in this particular context. That means, just like I consistently demanded it from my own esteemed mentor in a very similar fashion, like, tell me exactly so I can recognize it. That's what people want from me these days. Define exactly when that curve is already too much. Like, that's already gone too far, and I don't want to do this anymore. So give me a definition of what is already too far, and it's about those feelings when I'm able to say that this is still acceptable for me. This is already over the line. This I can still handle, and that I can't handle. It's possible that maybe in another 5 years, I'll be able to make this a more exact thing, because it's still information that's being processed in my head. And maybe in a few years, I'll be able to grasp it more precisely. But I think it's very difficult, those exact strategies. That's why, for example, it's harder for people who are highly educated, who have several degrees, because they're used to working this way. Their brains work in such a way that basically scientists and these kinds of people do not operate on feelings, but rather solely on verifiable fact. And when I work with those facts, it just doesn't really work out for me in trading. I can't quite make the switch. And instead, I end up feeling uncertain. I still don't really know, actually. I still can't manage to give myself that confidence that this is how it is, because I haven't seen those situations enough times yet. So I can't really build up that confidence, But it's not there yet. That confidence just isn't there. That confidence only comes with experience in trading, when you've seen the same thing 1,000 times and it rarely didn't work out. So yes, sometimes it won't work out for whatever reason, but most of the time it does. So that's the thing I want to keep repeating, and you don't bet everything on it in the middle of all this. That's why we choose a specific strategy, so we can study that particular strategy and spot it in the charts and see that same pattern once, twice, 3 times, 150 times, 1,000 times. And when I see it there and recognize it, I can start on a demo account, doesn't matter, and then transform it psychologically so that I can pull the trigger with real money, and later even with larger amounts. That's what success is. But again, it has to be gradual. So just to sum it up, for everyone, the holy grail, the best strategy in the world, doesn't have to be the same for you as it is for me. But on the contrary, let's keep moving forward. Someone who already has some experience with a particular strategy can tell you about it and maybe shorten your journey a bit by showing you what to look out for and what to be careful about, or share with you the things that backfired on them. So I'm able to pass on some of this information to you. That's why our community exists. That's why we share this information. That's why there's a school. That's why it's all written down, and so on and so forth. It's all a whole, like forex itself. You can't just pull out one part and say you only need the system. You need the system, money management, and psychology. You don't just need money management. You also need to understand the market as a whole, how it behaves, price action. What is a trend? I need that for my own trading. And you need it for your own trading as well. And if you're going to rely on some indicators like a signal light blinking for you, that's possible. But I'm telling you, I still haven't come across an automated system that could generate profits for me over the long term. Just because the green light is on, but maybe you'll write to me and say, no, this system is actually really good. Yeah, I'd be glad to hear that. I'll check it out, look into it. I'd be happy to take a look. Not that I wouldn't, but I just haven't found one in all this time.